Carl Icahn has enough money to buy just about anything, except, of course, dignity. Investor Beat starts now. Thanks for watching. I'm Chris Hill. Red across the board on Wall Street today. The NASDAQ, S&P 500 both falling, and almost every single one of the 30 stocks in the Dow Index in the minus column as well. Joining me in studio today, David Hanson and Taylor Muckerman. Guys, our top story. eBay's fourth quarter revenue rose 13% and profits were higher than a year ago, but those numbers were overshadowed by billionaire activist investor Carl Icahn, who publicly demanded that eBay spin off its lucrative PayPal business as a separate company. This would make more sense to me if he owned a huge stake of the company. He owns less than 1% of the company. What is he doing?
I'm not too sure. Maybe because Apple's not paying attention to his demands, he's going to try and pick on another company. But I think he's just biting off more than he can chew right now in the tech sector because they're already publicly stating this isn't going to happen. And when a guy comes out and says it's a no-brainer and he's got an equity stake in it, you kind of have to wonder if his logic is all there for him or for the general public and shareholders in general.
And maybe it's just me. I would find this easier to take more seriously if this was a brand new idea. This is not a new idea.
Right. This has been around for years and years and years and years, and it makes sense for the two companies to be together now, but I think it could happen in the future. And the way that PayPal is growing revenue right now, it could be in the future that we're saying they're spinning off the marketplace business because it'll actually be smaller than the PayPal unit. So I think it'll probably happen down the road, just probably not in the time frame that Carl is hoping for.
Back to the overall business of eBay, when you look at the stock running slightly ahead of the market today, not up huge or anything like that, is it fairly valued? Is it overvalued? What do you think?
I tend to like it. I made it a caps call back in April. Obviously, they didn't listen to me like they might listen to Carl Icahn because they are underperformed by 16%. I know. I guess I need to get on Twitter and talk about it instead. But yeah, I think with the mobile payments, they're doing really well. 88% growth in mobile payments year over year. And to speak to the strength of PayPal, over 180% of their business came outside of eBay online transactions. So they're reaching far and wide, and I think they're doing it very successfully.
All right, let's get to some of the day's movers and shakers. McDonald's was one of just a few Dow components not in the red today. Fourth quarter revenue rose 2%, but global same-store sales were down slightly. This stock was basically flat in 2013. Are we going to have a repeat of that in 2014?
Maybe, but 2013 was a pretty darn good year. It's hard for a big company like McDonald's that's already established to keep up with the pace of a market that drives is 30% in 2013. I think the company's still well positioned from a stock perspective too. You look at the dividend, over 3% there, still growing internationally. So yes, the stock wasn't a world beater last year, but it's still well positioned, still the industry leader. So I think they're okay.
Netflix up big after strong fourth quarter results. The company added more than 2.3 million subscribers to its video streaming business. Is this a stock that has entered that phase of just whatever you do, don't bet against them?
Pretty much. I mean, this company is doing a lot of things right, increasing their subscribers. Yes, margins took a hit this quarter, but that's because they're expanding the business, and they're not even really done with that expansion. They're talking about multiple tiers now, trying to attract new business, and going back to Europe, which I think they'll be a lot more successful with this time around. It's tough to do on a valuation basis, but if you like the business, I think you could easily get in on a shareholder basis because they have a lot of room to grow this business.
Herbalife taking a dive after Massachusetts Senator Ed Markey urged both the SEC and the Federal Trade Commission to investigate the company's business practices. That's a couple of big microscopes right there.
That's a typical Thursday for Herbalife, isn't it? I mean, someone's claiming their business is potentially a pyramid scheme. Yeah, I mean, down 13%, but the stock is up since Icahn first came out with his big short, of course. It could still be right, his short. I mean, Icahn can stay in short positions for a very, very long time. He's done that in the past. So I don't think this is one for foolish investors. I know it's very polarizing. Some people really believe in it. Some people are obviously very against it. I think it's one to watch. I don't think it's one to invest in.
And finally, fourth quarter results for Noble Corp looked pretty good, but the stock is hitting a new 52-week low after the offshore drilling company said they expect lower rig utilization in 2014. I'm assuming that just means we're going to be doing less business in 2014.
Yeah, that's pretty much what it says, but they only talked about the beginning of 2014, so they're not even talking about the full year being a little bit less on the utilization side of things. They're dragging the entire industry down with Ensco down 5%, and a bigger name, Transocean, where Carl Icahn is heavily involved, is down 3.5%. I like this industry long term. It's the new frontier of energy. I'm not too worried about this 6-month blip that this company's talking about, especially after they raised net income 50% over last year, and it's down 10%. I'm a little confused. It might be a good buying opportunity for a company about to spin off its standardized rigs.
All right, that's going to do it for today's action. Give me a stock I can put on my watch list.
Looking ahead to next week, Blackstone reports earnings. Biggest homeowner in the United States is Blackstone. We've seen them do some really interesting stuff the last couple years with real estate, not just in the U.S., but outside of the country as well. Great performer in 2013, so interested to see what are they thinking now.
All right, what about you?
I'm looking at Honeywell International. Google stole a lot of the headlines with their acquisition of Nest when it comes to the home energy savings, but Honeywell's got a lot of offerings here themselves, so I'm interested to see if some of all the buzz from CES and the Google acquisition translates over to their release tomorrow, see if management talks about it on their own, or if analysts bring it up in the Q&A.
All right, for Taylor Muckerman and David Hanson, I'm Chris Hill. Thanks for watching. We'll see you tomorrow.